All right.
Hey, this is a new chapter in our life, isn't it?
Yeah, after a week of pushing it off
Yeah.
for technical difficulties and everything, but so we're ready to get started.
Yeah. I think we ought to kind of introduce what we're going to do, our plan,
I agree.
and kind of maybe a little bit about ourselves.
Okay. My plan.
Your plan.
My plan?
Yes.
Okay.
Your vision for the.
Well, I've always been interested in independent media, so that's been my big thing. I always think that it's important that people have another narrative other than the mainstream. I think that media, entertainment, all that is being taken over by deep state elitists for their agenda. So I think that the third party voices need to be heard. You need to get out there and say what you want to say, use that right of free speech. And so I just hope that we can, from this, be a outlet for people to get other information other than what is mainstream, and to just, get the message across that we're all regular people just trying to figure out what's going on and seek the truth. And I think that's the biggest thing for me is, like our motto says in our bios for our social media, seek truth, believe truth, seek truth, find truth, believe truth, proclaim truth. So I think that's what I want to get out of this.
Yeah. I think my vision or my what I want to do with this is just locally, statewide, and maybe some federal type stuff and worldwide things going on, whether that be spiritual, biblical, or political. Those are the things that I'd like to talk about. Give a honest approach to it.
Yeah, I think most of the time the local stuff's overlooked in the shadow of the federal stuff or the big name headlines.
Right.
Sometimes what's going on in your own backyard is you just look right over it.
Right, and that's the thing that impacts us the most. Things that are happening right here, but all things start local.
Yeah,
that's what impacts us today, tomorrow, this week.
Yeah,
the most. So understanding that, we hear a lot of things that are going on in the narrative, the media, and I would like to talk to those on all sides of the issue and have a real conversation, just understanding what is actually going on.
Mm-hmm. Something I'm looking forward to doing with this, also bringing people on here that have truth to share, whatever that looks like, whether it is somebody in politics or a pastor, a regular person, a business owner, or somebody that has something to share that I feel like people need to hear. Just talking with all those people, something that I'm getting geared up to do and excited to do too.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. I think we probably ought to kind of introduce ourselves. We, as people may or may not know,
Most probably do know.
We're father and son. I'm 53 years old. Grew up as a hillbilly in the hills of Natural Dam and have been married for going on 30 years. We've been married 29 years. I've known my wife, Paula, for 30-ish years, 5 children, and just a regular dad, regular business owner, regular guy.
Tell me about your business, what you do.
Oh, I own a construction company. I'm a general contractor. We build new homes, commercial buildings, remodels, both commercial and residential.
And I work for that company.
Yeah.
And I used to be, I'm 20 years old. I used to work in management for a local coffee chain. And I decided that wasn't the life for me. And I'd worked for you previously for a little while. And so I came back to work here, and I plan on sticking it out.
For a day or two?
So I'm just a regular general labor, general construction worker.
Right.
raised in Rudy. That's where our place is, and just have a girlfriend, Alyssa, and all my four siblings, or four sisters. I'm the only boy. I've always been interested in studying things and getting to the bottom of things. Pretty much me.
It's kind of an exciting time to start our podcast.
Yeah.
There's some interesting times that are occurring with the Trump presidency. We have some local things going on with the corn court. I guess we could say that at any time if we jumped into this, but things are exciting.
Yeah.
Interesting, depending, no matter where you are or what your perspective is. Interesting times.
Absolutely. What do you want to go? Most recent thing is this. What's going on in Russia right now?
Well, yes. Ukraine has fired, from what I understand, 6 missiles into Russia, and we're all kind of waiting to see what the reaction will be.
Just guess. Take a wild guess at where those missiles came from.
My understanding is they came from the U.S. They were. We helped supply those.
Didn't he update the nuclear policy or whatever? What's that? The doctrine, nuclear doctrine.
Yes,
but that was a while back.
Yeah, that has been a while.
Okay. Well, what do you think is gonna? What is best case scenario and what's worst case scenario in your opinion?
My opinion. Worst case scenario is that it. From a lot of things that I've read, worst case scenario would be World War III type scenario where there's a retaliation by the Russians. And best case scenario would be that there's not, because World War III is probably not going to be that positive for anybody in the world.
Right. Well, my personal opinion, if I'm correct, I don't know if that's something you can look up on there. If I'm correct, another president can't assume office in wartime, right? Do you know?
Yes.
That's my understanding.
Yes.
So my idea is that they've been trying for this past campaign season to try to get Trump in a state to where he could not win. And this is just another way of doing that. It's kind of their last straw to pull, because if we're in war, he can't get inaugurated in 60 days, or a little under 60 days now, I think. So if they get this war started up and then he can't assume office and they stay in, that's a bad deal. Republicans, I think, have done articles of impeachment because they're saying the administration is trying to incite this for that. They're trying to make it to where Trump can't assume office. So I think that Biden's poking the bear. We're just seeing what Putin does. Do you think Putin knows that he might be being used as a pawn, or?
Oh, I think he's well aware of his the different factions plays. I think he's well aware of it. He's no fool.
I think so too. But it's just how is he going to respond? Because if we keep sending missiles over there, what's he supposed to do?
Well, it doesn't look like we're gonna. Anyway, in the last 24 hours, we haven't done anything.
Yeah.
It's kind of a wait and see. My thought is that they aren't going to do anything. If they would have, it would have been pretty immediate retaliation. It'll be more maybe covert, maybe unless we attack again.
Right. Yeah. What about this? We can kind of segue from that into Trump as president. So assuming he's going into office in January, he has a powerhouse of a cabinet. What do you think about his cabinet picks? We got Tulsi Gabbard, we got Vivek and RFK and Elon Musk and all of these people. What do you think about it?
It's interesting. It will be a cabinet that is like no other in the sense that they're not politicians per se. Tulsi Gabbard was a representative from Hawaii.
Mm.
She's had some experience with that, but a lot of them don't have any political experience. Depending on what your viewpoint is or what people's viewpoint is, it's kind of a new RFK. He's an attorney, not a politician. It's not a federal position, but they're floating the name of Vivek Ramaswamy out there, Elon Musk. Neither one of them are politicians. Vivek ran, but never was. He was a businessman. And those are all super exciting. To me, they're exciting to see how that shakes things up and how some people will be it won't be a positive thing for some people because the belief is that you need to have experience in the political realm to govern properly that way. But it's exciting to me. That's an exciting thing to me.
I think it's neat how he picked all these people that the media has been blasting. All these people that makes pretty much makes his opponent's blood boil because they're just powerhouses of what I think, and a lot of times, powerhouses of truth, powerhouses of being able to just carry out what Trump's vision is and what the American people voted for. And that's something interesting that I was thinking about how there's been 9, I think I was talking to you about it earlier, 9 Republicans that said that they're not going to approve Trump's cabinet, which would mean none of these people don't get approved to go in, which I think is, their people voted for Trump to be in and his policies to be in. That's what the American people just voted for. I just am curious at why these Republicans in there and Democrats aren't carrying out what their people obviously wanted for the country.
It's special interest groups are they're that's what we hear about. Special interest groups are what we hear about, what take the big stage. That even happened here locally.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of social media chatter and going back and forth about the election for the justice of the peace with the quorum court here and some issues that have been with that.
Mm-hmm.
Just like with Trump, if you look at the states or at the United States and the red and the blue, I mean, the whole United States is red except for little blue where cities are, big cities, but the rest of the nation is completely red.
Mm-hmm.
And, more than, as much as any other year, he won the popular vote, more people came out to vote, and the same thing happened in the quorum court. All the opposition to the current quorum court lost by at least 3 times, 2 to 3 times, sometimes 4 times what their opponent was. So that says, and the same with the national election says that the will of the people is what they're hearing from the candidates or what they have done. But in both cases, the incumbents from the quorum court and Trump have all been in office before.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not anything that we haven't seen before.
Right.
So it came pretty loud and clear.
Well, it's not new. I mean, even our representatives to federal Congress vote over half the time with Biden and his policies the last 4 years, and they're all Republican. So that's just the way it is. And I just wonder how much longer, because they were convincing people, a lot of people, that Kamala was going to win, and it was just, I think it was more of a massive landslide than they let on. I never came in contact with that many people that supported Kamala. I came into contact with people that have been Democrats and transitioned over to voting for Trump. I met maybe 1 or 2 I've talked to.
The vast majority. Now, I've heard and talked to and seen and read people that were completely opposed to Trump. And I think the divisiveness of the parties, and that's kind of what I would like for this conversation to be about, is finding common ground with people, talking through these issues in a reasonable. I want to get away from talking points of the parties, talking points of the sides,
Yeah.
and just talk about the facts, just the facts.
Just facts.
Yeah.
And then that'd be good. I mean, we got a lot going on locally, like you're saying, with the library, and it's something that's going on all around the country where they have these, LGBTQ plus books, some of them explicit, being put into the children's section. These libraries are being put into public schools. And that's just something on a local level that's happening. You might think, well, my state and my town is so conservative and Christian, it would never happen here. But we're in the Bible Belt of Arkansas, in a red area, heavily red area, and we have those books in our local libraries.
Right. So that's the other thing I want to do. A purpose that I want this platform to have is that the truth? Mm-hmm. Is it just a bias by the Republicans to fan the flames of, yes, these books, were they there?
Just the facts.
Just the facts. I want the facts.
Yep.
And if the Republicans, or if one side is incorrect, or if both sides are incorrect, we want to have the facts of the case.
Yeah.
Facts of the situation. That's what I want to talk about.
Because you get into it, there's propaganda on every side of everything.
Right. And is propaganda a bad word? Like, propaganda is put out there as if it is negative.
Yeah.
And propaganda, when you say propaganda, is it just a bias? And we're all biased. We're all biased to a certain extent, but is that bias absent of truth, or is that bias got truth? The reason that you have that bias, or the reason that you believe that way, is because it's supported by truth, and that's what we need to.
Right.
Or is it supported because I'm a Republican or I'm a Democrat?
And that's what the platform
and
says.
This is what everybody's saying that is a Democrat, or this is what everybody's saying that is a Republican, and is that true?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because Republicans are liars just as much as Democrats, or they tell the truth just as much as Democrats.
What I can't stand, and it's something that I talk about all the time, is most of the time, Democrats are upfront about what they believe. So, and I'm not saying all the time, I'm saying with, core things, abortion, things like that. They're up front, they're for abortion, they're for this LGBTQ, they're for all this stuff. But then, they're against immigration, shutting down the border, whatever the case may be. And then you get these Republicans that claim to be up with the Republican conservative platform, but then whenever you look at their voting record, over 50% of the time they're voting across the aisle or for things that conservatives or Republicans traditionally would never vote for. I blame them more than I blame the Democrats who are upfront about all this stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just all the conversations in my life is with talking with customers of mine or people out in the community. I find very few people, when you have a conversation with them, that you are more divided than you are together on day-to-day activities. Now, if you talk about, hey, what do you think about Israel, or what do you think about Ukraine, or what do you think about this bullet point issue, that's when the separation comes. But when you talk about it within the real life context of a situation or a personal way of dealing with something, there's very little separation. Most of the time you find common ground. Yes, I can support you in dealing with this situation that way, or we see this the same. Mm-hmm. And they may be, and that's where, I think that's where the separation is. Because really, all in all, I don't know anything other than what I'm being told, and that may or may not be true about Ukraine and Russia. And all they know, or the person I'm talking to knows is what they hear and what they see, and none of us really know what's going on. But do we have common sense, common solutions, ideas?
Yeah.
And I think there's more of that than there is. And social media, news, all of those platforms are made to divide and not bring together.
Yeah.
And here I sound like a good Democrat. We all just need to come together.
Yeah.
But I think there is more together than there is apart, in my opinion.
I do too. I agree, and I can attest to that. Back when I worked at the coffee place, starting out, nobody knew my affiliation politically. Nobody knew that I was a conservative Republican, and they would have never known unless somebody asked me. Because every day, just working, work hard, good customer service, do people right, kind to your coworker, help your teammate out. All those core things were the same. Everybody believed in us, and that's just what we did there, and that's all that we saw. And we'd go out after work and get burritos or go watch a movie, whatever, and we liked the same stuff. Some of us liked hiking, some of us liked, and we had completely different views politically, but you would never know it until somebody brought it up. So,
and even in those, personally, they probably didn't have completely different views. Like the bullet points, you're set on these bullet points. Like it's always been that Republicans were for a stronger defense and a strong, border program and all these bullet point issues. But when you break it down into each issue, there was a lot of common ground. But we get hung up on all the bullet issues.
Yeah. It's just the talking points.
It's the talking points.
They don't talk about what's actually going on. They talk about the headline of the issue. This is the thing. Whenever there's this long subtext underneath it that people aren't talking about. And that's what I want to get to, is the subtext that people aren't talking about, and bringing that up and talking about that, which I hope that we're going to be getting to.
Yeah, we will.
Digging up.
This is kind of exciting.
I love researching. I've been putting on my journalist skills lately.
So you're going to be the research arm of this organization?
I will research, and I hope other people research too. And
at some point, I hope to be able to take questions that are emailed in, maybe at some time live.
I'm going to share that at the end about how people can contact us or whatever. But
we got emails.
Huh?
We have emails that they can.
We have an email
for the show that they can contact.
Yeah, and I had a little bit of confusion with that, but I think I got it solved so that they can.
What is that email address?
So that y'all can access it. So that email address is going to be facingthefirepodcast@gmail.com.
Okay.
All lowercase. We did have a Facing the Fire at openstonestudios.com. There was
some
domain issues, but yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But, so what is, if you had, let's kind of transition to personal stuff.
Personal.
Yeah.
We're getting personal.
Getting personal. What, for modern people, so as your generation, talking to me, because we got two generations here.
What's your generation?
Gen Z.
What's my generation?
I want to say Gen X.
Maybe.
I think. Something. I don't know. 1971, whatever that is.
Whatever that ends
What
up
would you say is the biggest threat to my generation? Or a few of the biggest threats to my generation that weren't existent as big threats whenever you were growing up?
Maybe the control of the flow of information, the control of, through social media, through platforms, through just the heightened awareness of ourselves, is something that is very prevalent today, whether that be Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. It's all focused on self.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we get in trouble when we focus on ourselves. We should be focusing on each other. We should be focusing on as a Christian, I think we should be focusing on what the Lord would have us to do, and what that responsibility is to others.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have so much social media, so much presence, people didn't have a presence. You had a presence in your own circle, you had a presence in your own people that you talked to, but you didn't have a presence at all outside of that. Very few people had that.
Mm-hmm.
So all you had to do is the responsibility of you in your interaction with other people. And I think that is a big issue for all people of all ages in this present day.
Yeah.
But kids growing up in that, I mean, you've got little sisters, and they're impacted by YouTube. All those things.
Oh yeah.
YouTube Shorts
Yeah.
are things that come from Facebook or made for Facebook or Instagram or any of that. And
I have a claim. Shorts, reels, while they can be useful, I firmly believe they're created to shorten people's attention span so that they won't research anything deeply.
mm-hmm.
I've even noticed with myself, whenever I first got social media, which we didn't have phones until we were 16 in our place, but whenever I did get it,
Mm-hmm.
and I got TikTok and all of these things, and I started watching those reels, the less and less I wanted to spend time on one singular task, whether it be reading a book, watching a full video on World War II instead of a 30-second video on a reel. Makes it to where you don't want to go as deep into things. I think that's what they want with that. I really do.
Yeah, attention span and just the way we consume our information is different.
Yeah. Well, to kind of answer my own question, I think one of the biggest threats to my generation, but really to our culture and the way Western culture is going, is that what you believe or what you think is true. Whatever you think in your own head is what is true. I think that's one of the biggest ones. If I imagine,
Expand on that a little bit.
expand on that.
Yeah.
Well, if I think sitting here that I'm a woman, then I get to be a woman. If I, think that I can identify as whatever I want to.
It's not what you think. What we have a big one of the things that was kind of it is different from my generation or me growing up in the 70s and 80s is it wasn't about your feelings. This generation, and the older I've gotten, you get more capital out of feelings than you do out of the facts.
Mm-hmm.
Feelings and your emotion is what is driving the narrative generally today. I would say that most, and I can look up articles and different things, and they're mostly driven by our feelings.
The reporters have gone that way. Journalism has gone emotional.
Right.
It isn't just, hey, this is what happened at this time and it responded this way. They always add in little buzzwords, keywords that invoke an emotion in people. Extremism, conspiracy theorist, right-wing extremist.
And the other way.
And the other way.
And fake news.
Fake news.
And all of that is
far left, whatever, all these that invoke an emotion in people to feel a certain way about a group, instead of this is exactly what they did. And Amos Riordan, instead of saying Amos Riordan went and voted for Trump, somebody maybe from CNN would be like, Amos Riordan, a far right Trump MAGA Republican, went and voted for Donald Trump. That's kind of because that makes you feel, well, he's far extreme, and invokes these words that they've been pushing into the system for people to feel something.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, in all aspects. I mean, when we were growing up and being raised, there wasn't the focus on little Johnny's feelings. It was focused on whether he was doing what he should be doing or not. And I think social media has capitalized on our dopamine urges. They satisfy those, and that's feelings.
absolutely. I agree with that. And I think that young people my age should really, first of all, I think everybody should come to terms with who God is. That's the biggest thing. Because without a foundation for what you're basing your what right and wrong off of, you said about little Johnny doing what he's supposed to be doing. How do you figure out what little Johnny's supposed to be doing?
Well, it is where you get your core, what you think truth is, and who's the originator of truth. The originator of truth, is that us? And if it is us, then it is our feelings.
Yep.
Is it a entity that is not us?
Yeah.
Whether that be your religious beliefs,
God,
whatever that may be.
Yeah.
That's where your baseline of truth, that's where truth comes from. Truth comes from, otherwise it comes from our emotion.
Right. And that's the reason that we've been able to go on for so many years is the strong foundation of truth that this country was started with. And that's something I've been going through a lot of books right now, trying to read up on history and reading different perspectives. Because what you get in a textbook is just not, it's a fairy tale compared to what actually happened. So I'm getting really into it, but what they're not putting in our textbooks now is how basically America was founded on a Christian creed that we're endowed by our Creator with rights, that our rights and our truth and the way we should be comes from this external Christian God. And that's what's allowed us, in my opinion, to go this long, because we had that strong foundation on that. And so I think that it's important for people to understand, especially my generation who's going very, whatever you feel goes, whatever. You can feel what you feel, you can believe what you want to believe. And technically you can, but is everybody expected to function off of what you believe and what you feel? That's the question. Oh, if you feel a certain way, is everybody supposed to just bow to your feeling? Or is there an objective truth that everybody bows to instead? I think that's the biggest.
And not necessarily bows to, but believes.
Believes that, yeah.
Believes that is the truth.
Sometimes I gotta bow to it, because in spite of myself, I don't want to believe the truth. I think something untrue can seem a lot nicer than something that is true. But you gotta surrender yourself.
Submit yourself.
Submit yourself.
Submit to will.
Christ. Take all thought captive, as the Bible says. That's what I believe. So I think that.
And that gets into a lot of. We have opened up so many topics here, and if anybody wants to comment on them or dig deeper in anything we've said, that is we've given a lot of ammo to start. Asking questions.
We want you to be messaging us, commenting, emailing if you want more detail on certain things.
Email. I'm not going to be the person that goes through and reads all the comments.
I can. If you comment, then I'll read it.
He's the guy.
Email's the main one that I want.
I'm not going to pay attention to your accolades or your
disgust. If you're disgusted, we want you to come on and talk to you.
Yeah. we want to have a conversation. I just want to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Drink a cup of coffee or a soda or whatever, or a glass of water, and just have a conversation.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty good start to what we want, kind of the format of what we're going to do.
I agree.
And if you want to make us come and face the fire, email us.
Email us. We want the fire we see as truth, and that's what we're facing. We're facing the truth and the expected backlash from what comes from seeking truth. Yeah. So
the expected
conversation. And we want to do that unfiltered, head-on, unfiltered conversation. So that's what Fighting the Fire is. And as we've already said, if you want to email us, it's facingfirepodcast@gmail.com. And we want to hear from you. We want to talk about what you want to hear about. So we will see you next week, and we'll have some really good topics coming up, hopefully. If people like to hear us talk.
Yeah. Enough said.
See you next week.